See, the oldest house is a sprawling complex with openings to other places as well.
As Emily informs us within the first hour of control, the oldest house connects to various other places. Within the game, Jesse travels through quite a few of them: the astral plane, the quarry, the mold threshold, and a few others. While not shown, there is another threshold that has a long-standing history in this setting. This threshold is only mentioned a few times and relates to a reoccurring AWE located in Bright Falls, Washington. This AWE was active throughout the 70s and in September of 2010. This threshold is known as the Dark Place. While the others could only be entered through the oldest house, the Dark Place is a stable threshold that can be entered through multiple places. The only entrance witnessed within control is through the door marked with a spiral located within the Ocean View Motel. On August 27th, roughly 2 months before Jesse arrived in the oldest house, a typewritten page was slipped under that door. It was later confirmed by Bureau agents to have been written by the writer who was lost during the 2010 Bright Falls AWE, Alan Wake. It has been stated that out of the doors inside the Ocean View Motel and Casino, all are locked except for the door marked with the inverted black pyramid. So how was a page slipped under the door from inside if it was impossible to get in there? It is because the occupant entered through other means. As mentioned earlier, there are entrances to the Dark Place threshold outside of the oldest house. In fact, 2 have been witnessed by the lost writer. The entrance witnessed during American Nightmare was an oil well located in the Arizona desert. This portal was promptly closed when Alan caused a satellite to break out of orbit and crash into it. I will not focus on the oil well itself because the events of American Nightmare leave so many questions as to what tier of reality it occurred in that discussing it further would be counterproductive. The entrance I want to focus on is the one that ultimately caused the Bright Falls AWE. That would be Cauldron Lake. Before proceeding, I want to make a note of how frequently water plays a role thematically within the Remedyverse. Both the oil well and the lake are bodies that act as gateways to a threshold. Upon arriving in a version of Night Springs, the first location Alan finds is a motel by the name of Desert Shore. The Ocean View Motel connects to all tiers of reality. The janitor of the oldest house is named for an ocean god. Even the story of Quantum Break occurs within Riverport, Massachusetts. These are all in reference to the so-called Cosmic Ocean, where the Remedyverse is one. The Riverport and the lake are simply small offshoots from the ocean, part of it, but much smaller. In various cultures, water is symbolic for a portal between worlds. As such, Cauldron Lake is a gateway between Bright Falls and the Dark Place. During the Bright Falls 2010 AWE, Alan's wife Alice was dragged into the lake and trapped within the Dark Place by one of the native occupants of that threshold, the Dark Presence. Appearing as Barbara Jagger, a previous victim of the lake, it attempts to use the writer to free itself from the Dark Place. This is made possible because of the power Cauldron Lake has over acts of creation made within its vicinity. The lake is classified as a recurring AWE because any artist who makes a creation in the area, whether they be writers, painters, or musicians, are able to alter reality. The lake makes their art come true. The FPC is aware of only 2 other artists who have made changes extreme enough to gain their attention. This would be Thomas Zane, the poet whom Jessie quotes during her therapy sessions, and the Anderson brothers, Odin and Tor. Coincidentally enough, the song inside Audie's Walkman that was gifted to Jesse contains a song written and performed by Odin and Tor Anderson. They were the founding members of the band Old Gods of Asgard, whom Audie says are his friends. Before discussing the nature of the Dark Place, it is relevant to understand the symbolism of the lake that acts as the portal to that threshold. Cauldron Lake sits over an inactive volcano that is classified as a caldera lake. This means that the waters of the lake fill up a massive crater that was formed during a violent eruption. It is described as the 8th deepest lake in the world and leads down towards the volcano itself. So why is this important? What is the relation between a volcano and a cauldron? For that, let's have a little geology lesson. Much like a cooking cauldron, all of the components of the rock and any remaining organic material are melted into a conglomerate called magma. This is a homogeneous mixture of all the raw materials melted down into the magma chamber. Once the heat and pressure grow too strong, the magma will find a weak spot in the Earth's crust to erupt out of. As a result of containing all of these raw materials, volcanic ash is one of the most fertile and mineral-rich fertilizers there is. In Greek mythos, volcanic eruptions were believed to be caused by the god Hephaestus. In the bottom of a volcano was where the god had his forge. As magma consists of malleable minerals and rock in the form of magma, it is a perfect place for a metalworker. The strikes of his hammer were said to create eruptions of lava from the volcano. It is no wonder that his Roman name was Vulcan. Anyone who's already watched my first video on Alan Wake entitled The Sound of Creation may see where I am going with this. The Greek poet Ovid, in the first few verses of Metamorphoses, described the time before creation as chaos. Chaos was not the void of darkness as other theologies state, but a state of existence where the raw materials of all matter and energy in the universe were disconnected. Imagine a bag of Legos before you assemble them. The potential of creation is there, but the act of assembling these raw materials together has not yet occurred. It is the primordial sludge from which reality sprang from. This is why volcanoes and magma are a great metaphor for this. Just like how volcanic ash is incredibly fertile and supports new kinds of life, the area around Cauldron Lake is fertile for new kinds of reality to be formed. As mentioned in previous videos, only artists are able to make use of this fertile aura, because they have the mental fortitude to assemble the contents of their unconscious minds and form them into a creative idea. The collective unconscious contains the raw potential for every story in existence. It only takes a creator to strike the mental hammer within that forge and make something beautiful. If an artist being around Cauldron Lake is equivalent to nature using volcanic ash to make something new, then diving into the forge at the heart of a volcano is equivalent to Alan diving deep in the depths of the lake and finding himself within the dark place. But instead of finding himself in a world of fire and surrounded by the raw minerals of the earth, he walks through a world of darkness and surrounded by the raw materials that compose the fabric of reality. The dark place is a threshold where reality is malleable. A single thought is all it takes to shape the world around you. It is a place similar to how Ovid describes chaos, the potential of reality that requires a conscious intent to condense into a form. These forms can easily be crafted, but they can just as easily fade back into chaos. As Alan mentioned, he imagined his path leading to the cabin and confrontation with the dark presence. With that thought, the story formed and made it so. The nature of this threshold allows him to return Alice safely back to the prime reality. With her return begins Alan's decade of confinement within the dark place. But he was not alone. This threshold has its own manner of intelligent life. If the internal world of chaos that is the human unconscious is a guide, then life exists in spades. The collective unconscious is a realm of archetypes and ideas. Within the dark place, those archetypes, emotions, and fantasies are reality. The primary antagonist of Alan Wake was the dark presence. In American Nightmare, it was Mr. Strange.
The dark place is utterly hostile to human life. It eats at your mind, wants you to succumb to madness. Your own thoughts can turn against you. Every shadow conceals a threat that attacks at the slightest sign of weakness. You're under endless assault. Every day is a struggle for survival.
It is not only the residents that are dangerous. Alan's own mind is a danger to himself as well. A single stray thought can create a beast or a demon. Within the Signal and the Writer DLC, Alan flirted with insanity and created a personality that actively attempted to murder him. During this decade in the dark, most of what the writer has been up to is unknown. It is only due to the typewritten page being placed under the door marked with the spiral that we know he is still alive. I will leave you with this final topic to think about. Why does the door in the Ocean View Motel that leads to the dark place have a spiral on it? Many cultures use the symbol of the spiral, and the meaning is largely centered on which direction it is spinning. If the spiral is spinning outward, it represents growth. From the seed in the center, a plant grows outward. This can represent personal growth, or more specific to this cosmology, the growth of reality from the origin point. Galaxies take this shape as well. The center of the galaxy is the oldest, with the outer rim being the youngest. If the spiral is spinning inward, it is the journey back to the center, the quest to uncover the origin of oneself or the world we live in. With this in mind, having a spiral represent the dark place makes perfect sense. As Ovid mentioned, chaos came before creation. The dark place at the end of the day is the seed of chaos in which the tree of reality sprang from. From the seed, roots spread out that give the tree the strength to grow. With how malleable the dark place is, all that is required for reality to be made permanent is a strong foundation for the world to be built upon.